Everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ringwood South and this Class 50 special. And today, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be having a bit of a preview of all my Class 50s, talking a little bit about the history, talking a little about the history of the locomotives that I actually own, and also talking about my history with the Class 50. And then after, what we'll do is in the next video, what I'll do is I'll be showing you how to remove the body and things to look out for if you're going to be buying one, and also how to install a chip, how to remove the body, things to look out for, little tweaks that you can do if you've got certain issues with your Class 50. And also after that we'll have the 50s at 50 special, which will be within the next few weeks, maybe a month, maybe a bit longer, but certainly by the end of the year, because I aim to get all these 50s up and running, and at the moment they're not. A lot of them all test run. I've just test run them all. They've all come from Beringer, the majority of them, and a lot of them need chips in them still. So they're still running, and they're running on DCC and on DC at the moment. But I do need to get chips for them. So without further ado, let's get on with the actual video. So my history with the Class 50 is quite straightforward. Basically, when I was a kid, I used to cycle to Paddington Station, and back in the day they used to run to Paddington Station between Oxford and Paddington and Reading, and I always used to go to platform 8 and 9 at Paddington Station. At the time, HSTs were pretty much 10 to a penny. They were the mainstay. Also, so were 47s, and 50s were more like they're more exclusive, and I guess that's why I liked them, and also because I loved the sound of them. And also back in the day, we didn't have ticket barriers and things, so you could just walk up to any platform you wanted to, and you can go right to the end of the platform. So it didn't matter which one you picked, and you could just pick the best platform that you felt that you could get the best views from. And unfortunately today, I guess for train spotters everywhere, a lot of platforms, a lot of stations are ticket barriered, so you can't necessarily always just walk onto a platform. So I used to see them all the time at Paddington Station, and I had very happy and fond memories of that. But then when they got moved on from Paddington to Waterloo, where they used to spend a lot of time on the West of England line before they were finally withdrawn. So the Class 50 began life in 1967, and originally they were leased. They were built at the Vulcan Foundry. They were English Electrics Type 4s, and initially they were leased before being bought by British Rail. And in the early days of the West Coast Main Line, they realised that money was in a bit of short supply, and they weren't really going to complete the overhead electric work in time. And so they decided to take on and lease 50 Class 50s from the Vulcan Foundry, English Electric Company, and they were used on the Anglo-Scottish region, and they were basically used between Crewe, Manchester, and into Glasgow, Edinburgh, that kind of part of the world. And from London up to Crewe, it was used by the electrics, and then the 50s would take over. But as the West Coast Main Line progressed, they realised that soon these Class 50s will be surplus to requirements, because the line will be fully electrified along the West Coast Main Line. So they wondered what to do with them. So they eventually cascaded south and moved south, and that caused much demise to the Class 52 Westerns, and a lot of those enthusiasts weren't particularly happy about that. Although the HSTs were slowly coming down to the Western region too, so they were also partially responsible, but between the two, the Class 52s would then become redundant and withdraw. The Class 50s were mainly found on the western region, out of Paddington and out of Waterloo, and those were the two main hubs in London, and they'd go out to places like Plymouth, Penzance, Bristol, Bath, Hereford and Oxford as well on the Paddington line, out to Reading as well. So those were the places where you could find them. You could even find them here in Basingstoke, but obviously I wasn't living here at the time. As the 1990s came around, Class 159 units came in online, and they came online about, I think it was 93, that they started really coming on, and that was really when the end of the 50s on the main line were really is when that happened. A number of Class 50s went into preservation and still do. There's still many in preservation, and a number of them do have mainline certificates as well, and some do actually run on the main line quite regularly. So it's good to see that these older locomotives are still in service today on the main line. So this is the first of my Class 50s. It's D400 and it's in its out-shop livery that was introduced into service, and the first locomotive to go into trials in 1967. This particular locomotive still lives on today and was recently at the 50s at 50 event at Kidderminster, and it's in preservation and in private hands in Nottingham. So this is Superb, my second member of my Hornby fleet, and it's in its revised Network South East livery. It was built in 1967 and withdrawn in 1991, and 50002 Superb has the distinction of being the first preserved Class 50 locomotive to run under its own power. And it still survives today, and it was withdrawn in Plymouth Lara Depot, but it still lives on with the Devon Diesel Society. And it wasn't at the 50s at 50 event, but I believe it's still in the current process of actually restoring it. This particular Hornby one is one of the early Class 50s that they did, along with Achilles, and in this rather darker blue, which seems to be a bit dark. One of the issues that you may have kind of noticed with this particular 50 is that when I removed the body, I damaged the louvres on it, and I had to buy a new set of louvres, which are these things here from Peter Spares, and I've put a new set on, and you can see that actually it's not actually quite weathered like the rest of the 50. So that needs to be blended in better, but she runs really well, like all my 50s do. And she's in excellent shape, and this is another 50 that's still alive today. This is my third one, and this is 50007 Sir Edward Elgar. And Sir Edward Elgar was painted in this livery to commemorate the Great Western Railway's 150th anniversary. Sir Edward Elgar is also still alive and well, but has been repainted in the BR plain blue, and it's been renamed in its original name back to Hercules. And me and Richard had the pleasure of actually riding behind Hercules on the way back from Bridgnorth at the 50s at 50 event in Kidderminster. So this is another one and this is also based up at the Severn Valley Railway. This is where 50007 lives. I've had this 50 for some time. This is not to be confused with the recent release by Kerno. This is the older one, but she runs perfectly fine, and she was a lot less money, let me tell you, than what they are today. She was also named at Paddington Station by Simon Rattle, conductor of the Birmingham Symphony Orchestra on the 25th of February 1984, when she was named Sir Edward Elgar. But like I said, she's now been since repainted, and she's back into her plain blue as Hercules, and has a mainline certificate and can be regularly seen up and down the country, as I actually witnessed myself through Bramley. This is 50008, as you can see, called Thunderer. Now Thunderer carries this civil engineers blue, they call it, civil engineers livery. It also had two other sisters that carried it, 19 and 37. 37 only carried it, Illustrious only carried it for literally a week, and Ramley's carried it for a short period as well. But Thunderer was always kept, and still is today, alive and well. And it's based in Leicestershire, and it's still in its civil engineers blue livery. I've had this one for some time, and it runs absolutely sweet, and I'm very happy with her. She's now part of the, I think it's the Hanson Rail Group, Hanson Garcia Rail Group, and can be seen up and down the country, and has a mainline certificate. So she has been dotted about and seen around. So she's another one with a mainline certificate. So this is Centurion 50011, and Centurion was the last to be named in August 1979, and it was built in 1968, March of 1968, and was one of the first 50s to be withdrawn and broken up on the 23rd of February 1987, and it was broken up in Crewe, and she still lives on in memory on my layout anyway. And also Defiance had been carrying Centurion on the other side to commemorate lost Class 50s, and 50011 was one of them. This particular 50011 has seen a lot of action on my Behringer layout. I've used this one quite a lot, and I'm looking forward to getting it chipped up, ready to be put on this one. And this one's depicted in its grey roof, which the majority of Class 50s were in. So this is 50013 Agincourt, and it's depicted in its BR blue plain livery. And this locomotive survived until 1989, where it was broken up and cannibalised for spares at Old Oak Common. On my layout, she lives on in this plain blue livery, and has the distinction of being the only Class 50 in my fleet with sound, and it has Southwest Digital sound in it, which I'm very pleased with, and I'm seriously considering getting another Southwest Digital sound chip for the 50, as opposed to any other ones, because I like the sound that comes out of this one, and also because this one has a beautiful startup sequence with the sound as well, which you don't get with any of the others. This is Lion 50027, and it's in its Network Southeast revised livery, the light blue version. They did do two versions. The first one was on Superb, which you saw earlier in the video, but that was actually way too dark. Now you'll see the correct darker blue version on my later 50s, and you'll see what I mean. But this is 50027. This is Lion in its revised light blue version, and Lion still lives on. She's still alive to this day, and she's based on the Mid-Hants Railway. She's being currently restored at the Mid-Hants Railway on the Royal Crest Line in Alton, where she lives at Ropley Depot. On my layout, she still continues to trundle on. Well, I say that, but she's currently working fine on DEC, and she was working on Behringer for a long time. This is one of many locos that need to get chipped up before running on Ringwood South. But she does have some meaning to me, this one. So this is Glorious 50033, and she's depicted in her Network Southeast revised darker blue livery, which is a much better match than the original one seen on Superb. And Glorious entered service in 1968, and locomotives 32, 50032 to 043 were named after aircraft carriers. And at the moment she's still alive, she's still running at the Severn Valley Railway where she lives, and I've had the privilege of signing her in her prime state to help raise funds towards a new repaint, which I'm hoping will be in the livery that is in front of you. This is 50046 Ajax, and it carried its large logo livery with a black roof, which it carried until its withdrawal in 1991. Upon its withdrawal in 1991, the power unit was taken out of this particular locomotive and was put into 50007, which is Hercules as it's now known, up at the Severn Valley Railway, and that particular locomotive now lives on. However, Ajax, as you see it, was cut up in 1992 in Glasgow, and which is quite sad, but as far as my layout's concerned, it's probably one of my favourite Class 50s on the layout. I do love this condition that it's currently in. My penultimate 50 is Dauntless 50048, and she carries the original Network South livery that was applied to Class 50s in the late 80s and 86, 87. And unfortunately, she was withdrawn in 1991 and she was cut up in 1992 in Glasgow. But she has a home on my layout and runs very well indeed, as do all of my Class 50s by Hornby do. This is 50149 Defiance in its rail freight general colours, and this is probably my favourite one of the lot of my 50s. I think it's just because it stands out above all the others. It's in its rail freight triple grey colours, and I just love it. It just has a presence on the layout. This is one that I really want to get sound for, because it is probably one of my favourites along with Ajax. Well, in fact all of them, because they're all Class 50s, but I just really like the colour on this one. And 50149, as it's depicted, was painted in this livery in 1987 into rail freight general colours, as I said. It was an experiment. It carried modified Class 37 bogies and was based at Lara in Plymouth. The experiment really didn't last too long, and it eventually got repainted back into large logo livery, and it was withdrawn in 1991, but it's currently alive and well at the Severn Valley Railway in its BR large logo livery with the black roof as depicted by Ajax. And she's got a mainline certificate and has been seen down in Bramley, as I caught it. Me and Dave caught 50049 and 50007 together. But it's not in this livery, it's back in a large logo livery, which is a bit of a shame really. I think there's quite a few 50s that carry the BR large logo or the blue together, that it would have been nice just to be a bit different and have this one put back in its triple grey colours. Royal Oak had a brief spell as well in these colours, but that didn't last very long either. So this concludes my Class 50 lineup, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I will speak to you again shortly. So hello everyone, and welcome back to me and my sofa, and I hope you've enjoyed my Class 50 presentation. I have to say that Hornby have done a cracking job with the Class 50. I think they captured it really well. They run really well, and they're just superb. 50002. So yeah, so the next video you'll see from me to do with the Class 50s will actually be fitting a decoder or fitting a sound chip, whichever I get. Just to give you guys an idea who are interested, if you're buying one, what to look out for, what not to look out for, how to handle them, how to install them, how to remove the body, that kind of thing. Before we move on to the actual 50s at 50 event itself, which, like I said, will probably be, if not the end of this month, sometime during November. It is my birthday in November, so who knows, it might be like a little birthday celebration to do with my favourite class of locomotive being the Class 50. They take pride and joy on my fleet. I love the 50 so much, and they basically right at the top for me. I've got 66s, I've got all sorts of other locos, but the Class 50 for me is literally there, right up there. And not too far behind that is the HST, if not equal, because I love the HST too. But anyway, until the next time, it's bye from Ringwood South and my 50s at 50 preview. So until next time, bye bye.
Bring it round to the front.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a sound demo for a 50 from Legoman Biffo. Sorry, you don't mind if I record it, do you?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it sounds quite low.
It sounds superb, doesn't it? I shall leave station.
Okay, yep, I'll let you.
Sounds like it might not be on full volume, right?
No. And has that got the standard speaker in it?
No, I think it's probably got one of those in it.
Oh, an EM2?
It has, yeah. I think.
So I guess the standard speaker with the sound chip is what? Is it 100 or?
118.50.
118.50. Okay, thank you. How many functions has it got on it? Do you know?
There's quite a few. You've got the horns, coupling hook, and then buffering up is on the same key when you're moving. Brake dump, and you also got playable brake when you're moving.
Right.
Manual brake.
And has it got what they call, is it drive locks?
It does have drive lock, yeah.
So explain to me, how does that work, the drive locks?
So what you can do is if you've got a big train on the back,
yeah.
What you can do is open it up like this, and then when it starts to move, if you lock the speed, you can have the loco working flat out but not moving very quickly.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So it's simulating pulling the heavy loads?
Yeah, and then you can release it gradually like this and just build the speed up gently rather than having it thrash away. If I release it all together, it will gradually build up to the speed you've set with the CVs.
And is it something that you program here, and then, or do you have to take like an hour or so to get it if you wanted to do it?
We may or may not have chips.
No, I mean,
on this weekend. If I can reblow them, if we haven't got one in, we can reblow them.
Okay, cool.
In about an hour.
Thank you very much.
There's flange squeal that's speed dependent, so you press it when you're stationary. Obviously the loco's not moving, so you don't get any flange squeal.
No, but like it's like when you're going over points and things.
As soon as you start to move, you'll get the flange squeal comes in,
okay,
and then gets faster and faster as the loco gets faster. You've got a dispatch whistle, you've got the roof fan, you've got Sanders, I believe. It's a sound is.
But you don't hear the original start-up sequence, as in, you know, the bells.
Priming. You've got two different starts on this. There's a warm start and a cold start. If I shut it down, and you can choose very easily between the two which one you want.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I
haven't got enough hands.
This is just a normal warm start.
That's warm. Yeah. That sounds about right.
And we'll shut it down again.
I definitely want another sound check for one of my 50s, so I just haven't decided which 50 it's going to be.
Just shut down. And let's see if I can do the cold start.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think that's the warm start again. It's a while since I've played with this. I
Yeah, no, that's
remember
fine.
how it's done, but it's not.
And
The cold start's lovely. It takes about a minute
Yeah.
to warm up.
And yeah, because you have to let it settle down before you can move it. And I'm assuming you take out the roof fan assembly and put the speaker there. Is that where it goes?
We do, and we have milled them as well. To fit
Oh,
the,
right.
To fit the EM2.
But if you use the standard one, the 20x40 that comes with it, I take
Yeah.
it you can just put it straight in, can you?
You need a low profile enclosure, which we've normally got.
All right. So if I was to order it from you, I'd have to ask if you can supply a low profile
We
enclosure.
would ask you, because we know the loco, so
Yeah.
we know what fits. So we'll say, right, what speaker do you want? You can have this or this.
Oh, okay. So there
So
is.
you can have this one without any work. You can have this one. You need to mill it out. We'll give you the range of options.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much.
No problem.